Okay, hello all. Hello everyone. Welcome back to the Men on the Internet podcast.
You got the sultry voice going.
Right.
Let's go.
Yes. Well, it's a sad day for some. Recently, it has been reported straight out of Atlanta that Kevin Samuels, popular YouTuber, has passed away at the age of 57 years old. They are saying it could be due to a heart attack.
They're saying it's a lot of things.
Really?
Yeah.
Tell me more.
Well, first of all, rest in power to Kevin Samuels.
Rest in power.
I personally, was a fan.
Really?
Yeah, I liked a lot of his messaging. I know his tact sometimes wasn't there, and his, he tended to be sharp with his tongue, but he was an asshole. But I do think the message that he had was very powerful. I think his intentions were actually good. And I mean, he was an entertainer. So there's those aspects of it that are needed to build a following and all that kind of stuff. But overall, I think that if you listen to the way his thought process and what his message was, you would be a bit better person for, doing those type of things. So that's where I was a fan of his. Yeah, I've heard a lot of things. There's rumors that it was a drug overdose. There was rumors that, he drank a lot of Red Bulls consistently. And, some people think that maybe that mixed in with the jab because he was jabbed.
Oh, boy.
Some people are saying that. Obviously, there was a female there, that.
I hear that he had just met her the day before.
Yeah, supposedly she's working girl.
Oh, I heard she was a nurse.
I don't know.
Yeah, she got a job.
I don't know. I've heard nobody. All of this is uncorroborated. All of this is rumors. So yeah, alleged, right? So only a few people probably know the actual truth. We'll see if it ever comes out. But yeah, rest in power to him. The vitriol over this internet, though.
Yeah.
I
see it. So I was on Twitter, and I seen a lot of men, talking poorly about this guy. And I don't know if it's because these men think that they're impressing women, because they are trashing the man after he's dying.
Simps.
In hopes of gaining the female approval.
Yeah, and it's like, you don't want to do that when somebody's passed away. I understand that. Maybe you didn't like the way he delivered his message. Maybe you didn't even like his message at all. But he found a space where people connected with him. And a lot of these women didn't get forced to call his show.
Right.
So they did it because they knew what he was like.
Yeah, they wanted something too.
Yeah, maybe. And I don't know too much about the show, actually. I've only seen some of the big viral moments, and then like a couple TikToks. But I know essentially what he's talking about.
Right.
That's kind of like the manosphere type of thing. And I just don't understand the celebration of a person's death.
Yeah, but I think that's just Twitter.
Of course. But,
I mean, that would happen.
Putting it out there.
Right. But what I'm saying is I think that's just where society has gone when it comes to those type of websites. Like people have, even if you think about why people are angry with Kevin Samuels, it's because he has a view and an opinion, and he's become famous. That's it, right?
Is he like Donald Trump to you?
As far as what?
Like he has a view and an opinion, and people support it, and it's not the popular view and opinion.
Is it not?
Like polarizing? Or
are you talking about just the polarizing aspect?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but that's anybody, right? That's
That's
AOC. That's
anyone worth their salt.
Bernie Sanders. That is,
It just so happens to be that you're on the side that that people are loud about not wanting to support.
Sure.
Yeah.
But also, his views weren't even that crazy. But there are people who are like, Kevin Samuels said this, and don't even like cite him. They say this is what he said, this is what he's about. He's a bad person, and people don't even watch his videos. They just go off what other people's
Right.
opinions say.
I mean, my understanding of Kevin Samuels, the reason why I respect him, I listened to a lot of interviews that when he was interviewed by people, like most recently there was the Joe Budden interview.
I
But
watched that.
Yeah, I've seen other interviews that he has done where it's not him talking to one, but he's explaining what he did before. He's explaining what his goal is with what he's doing with his work. He's even speaking about that, why he all of a sudden he became popular. He's like, for the longest time, his podcast was just strictly talking to men and telling them like, you expect to have this type of woman or this type of lifestyle, but you're not doing the things that you need to do to be able to get to that aspect. He's like, but nobody was listening to that episode.
He's like the Gary Vee of relationships.
He's like,
Is
nobody.
Gary Vee controversial?
Just viral, but it's just like nobody was paying attention when he was telling men that they're not doing the right things, or their expectations are not conducive to their work ethic or what they're doing. When he was telling men to get their shit together, people weren't listening. It's like it wasn't until
Because it's
women-
obvious. Men are always supposed to get their act together.
right, but when all of a sudden women started calling into the show, and he was having that same type of energy towards women by saying, hey, you're looking for a man that's in the top 1 percentile of wage earners, but what are you bringing to the table to expect that type? When he's giving that same message to women, now all of a sudden people started listening. Women started saying, how could you do that? All that kind of stuff. Like that's where his thing kind of went. And everybody's gonna have their opinion, obviously. I think society is becoming way and way more sensitive. And I think, that's natural, because I think previously it was not like nobody cared about your feelings and your emotions to an extreme level. Now, I think it's extreme the other way, and hopefully in time it'll even out. But, in this realm where people are just sensitive and it's all about how you feel versus what's real, a guy like Kevin Samuels passes away, and people are going off of their emotions and not what's real.
So let me bring this up. It makes me think about the usefulness and the importance of a human's ego. And what I mean by that is, on average, people think your ego is a negative thing, right? Like, oh, you were leading with your ego, that's why you made this dumb emotional decision. But I think that you're supposed to have a strong sense
Of
self and also belief in oneself coursing through your veins.
So-
but at the same time, like if you have too little, you then become, you have low self-confidence, and you're no longer able to view the world in the proper way. But if you have too much, you become arrogant. And
Before you keep going, let's define ego first, because what you're defining to me is an ego.
tell me.
But how would you define ego? And let's start from there.
Okay, I would define it as like the section of your thinking that allows you to be comfortable with yourself, your abilities, and your accomplishments.
Okay.
Do you want the real definition?
Tell me.
It's noun, a person's sense of self-esteem or self-importance, a boost to my ego, similar to psychoanalysis, the part of the mind that mediates between the conscious and the unconscious and is responsible for reality testing and a sense of personal identity.
Okay.
So kind of
Sense
in the
of self.
same, yeah, same
Right.
in the same thing. So to me, it's like if we compare it to confidence, some of these people that are listening to what Kevin Samuels is saying come in with low confidence,
Right.
with a low sense of self, and then he exposes that's how you feel, and the exposure, the truth, triggers anger.
Right.
But somebody who is like Kevin Samuel, who appeared to be an arrogant person, is somebody who was treading above that line of acceptable ego, showcase of ego in society. So I think in the sense of like why people are so sensitive, quote unquote, sensitive or whatnot, I think people have lost their ability to showcase and tread between the lines of acceptable ego in society.
Right.
If you think about it, a lot of people have very, very low self-confidence.
Sure.
And that is one of the downfalls to our generation.
Yep.
It's
But
dangerous.
that's where I say where ego to me. So we've had discussions previous about connotation, right? So words are words that people put connotations on. So I would say, and I don't know if you guys agree, when people say ego, there's a negative connotation to that.
Yes,
Because it's
yeah.
always brought up in a form of maybe narcissism. Like this dude has a big ego. But when ego is really your sense of self. So maybe, I remember 50 Cent always talks about this. The line between arrogance and confidence is really about who's interpreting it. Right? So you could be an extremely confident person to yourself, but to somebody who, like you just said, is insecure, they look at that confident person and think they're arrogant. But to that person that is the confidence, like let's say in the sense of 50 Cent, he's like, I've only ever had myself. So if I'm not confident in my abilities and in myself, there was nobody I could run to help me out. So so he's like, so to you who's insecure, you're looking at me and you're saying I'm arrogant. But to me, this confidence is what got me to where I needed to be, because I never let another person's view of me ever downplay how I viewed myself. And so are there arrogant people? Absolutely. Where I think where confidence is stemmed from other people's views of you, I think that's where confidence can turn into arrogance, because now you need other people to validate you. But when your validation just comes from yourself, I think that's confident. I think that truly confident people can intimidate unconfident people. And so the easiest way to brush off accountability of your own work on yourself is to look at somebody and say they're wrong, they're arrogant, they're egotistical. It's a defense mechanism. So when I see a lot of these people come out and say these things about Kevin Samuels right now, to me, it's sensitivity, lack of being able to deal with your own emotions, and lack of accountability for yourself. It's easier just to point the finger at somebody else and be like, well, they're the problem.
Yeah.
Who are we watching? Who are we watching? Not them. We're watching Kevin Samuels.
Yeah.
Do you guys fare well with women with strong self-confidence?
Women with strong.
Yeah, women.
Yeah.
Depends.
Tell me.
So it depends on where that confidence stems from. Because women that are successful, can do their own, like handle their own business, come with all that kind of stuff, but have the mentality that men ain't shit. I don't do well with that type of mentality.
Right, because that leads into arrogance.
Well,
Because now she's so arrogant, she thinks so much of herself that everyone else is lesser than.
could be, or she just, the reason why she's used the sense that she can't depend on men to use that to fuel her to become successful and whatnot. And because of that, no man will ever be good enough, because she doesn't need you. She doesn't need a man anymore. Right. So that becomes tough when you're a man and you're dealing with a woman who in her mind doesn't need a man. Right. So that level of confidence, I think, because I applaud that woman, because, she's successful and all that kind of stuff. That's hard. Like, I don't ever take away from somebody who's been able to make something of themselves.
Right.
But for me, it's difficult to deal with the mentality that most men are trash.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But a confident woman that understands that doesn't need a man, but appreciates a man, or understands the value of having a man in their life and stuff like that. Yeah, I much rather deal with that type of woman than somebody that's insecure and non-confident.
So I love a confident woman.
Same.
I love it.
Same.
It's just like a magical thing because when folks don't have confidence in themselves and they're in a relationship, right? It almost becomes the job of the other person to try and always lift you up.
It can. Yeah, it can
Right?
become the job.
And then you kind of make yourself the chief of lifting you up, but there's nothing you can do to make the other person feel better
Right.
or think better of themselves. And then it just becomes this, then you become angry, because it's like, why don't you see yourself the way I see you? And so for me, like when I remember I complimented her, I was like, you are so pretty. She was just like, I know I am, but I appreciate you telling me that. I was
That's
like,
dope.
I was blown away.
Yeah, that's dope.
I flew to the next building.
That's dope.
And then, but like, there's also like the like career women too that like,
Yes.
they know the vibe. They know that they can go into a space and take over and do whatever they got to do and come back home and tell you about it.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
Right.
Because now it's not my job to tell you like you can do it. And knowing that you may agree with me, but then when you go to bed at night, you start thinking like, I don't think I can. And then it kind of can turn you into like a sad person. You know what I mean?
But
Yep.
go ahead, Chris.
Oh no, I was just agreeing.
Okay. So I think my ability to deal with confident women is based off of where my confidence level was at. So when I wasn't very confident, I think I struggled to deal with confident women because I was insecure.
Yeah.
So if you're an insecure man dealing with a confident woman,
Oh no, it's not a good mix.
it's not a good mix, right?
I told you guys about that lawyer, right?
Yes.
Boy, I thought I was confident, so I saw that penthouse.
Yeah.
Right?
Them $33 gummy bears. I
Yes.
was like, you know what? I'm gonna go.
Right.
Why should you walk in like, nice place? This is a dump.
You should see my place. I have tile.
You couldn't slink with a $13 chair.
I got my own parking spot,
Right.
baby.
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
Right. So
Tandem.
as my confidence has risen and where it's at right now, like my confidence in myself or my ego by the actual definition, not the negative connotation, the ego is healthy and strong. That's all I want to deal with. In fact, insecure women are kind of a turnoff because there's so much more work to, like, an insecure woman has so much more work to be able to get to a level where it could be a healthy relationship.
Yeah.
That it's just like, it's kind of like a waste of time. Like, especially now where I think as you get older, the time you can invest into someone before it gets to a certain place is so much less, right? When you're younger, you can spend 5 years on a relationship
Trying to figure it out.
right? But when you're in your early 30s, mid 30s, late 30s, like most of us are you 30 yet?
Nope.
Okay. So
What
yeah,
are you,
24.
28.
20, okay.
okay. So like most of us are, you don't have that time. You can't spend 5 years on seeing
Depending
if it
on
works
what
out.
you want.
Well, let's say you want like something that's going to turn
Serious.
into serious, right?
Yeah.
You don't have 5 years to figure it out,
Yeah.
right? So if a portion of that has to do with even getting someone healthy enough to be able to be in a healthy relationship,
Yeah.
that is just a waste of energy and time. So
Yeah.
you really got to find somebody that's already done the work, because that's work that you have to do on your own, whether it be through therapy, whether it be through, self-evaluation, and then just making moves in your life that cause you to be successful. Like if you're insecure about the amount of money you make, until you've put yourself on a path to make more money, like no outside force is going to be able to help you with that.
For real.
That's why I tell men that, like, don't search for it. Go your own way. There's a whole thing that Kevin Samuels is about, like, called MGTOW, men going their own way. It's not like incel. It's like, women are. It's not. It has nothing to do with women. It's just like, hey, you're a man. Go find your own path, your own way. Don't worry about what women are doing. Don't be searching for it, because when you do that, it will come to you. It will come to you in droves, and I've experienced that like firsthand. As soon as I start doing stuff like that,
Like what? Like what?
I did not focus on women's needs above my own. It's not like I was being selfish, but I was like, I'm not going to bend over backwards. I'm not going to simp for women.
Okay.
I'm going to focus on what I want to do And then if you want to come, sure. Like men are islands, women are boats. That's the whole kind of prophecy kind of thing.
Now, was
Men
that
are
different for
islands,
you?
Women are boats.
In
Like
regards to-
initially,
that mean?
before you started focusing on that, what were you feel like you were like bending over backwards for women and stuff like that?
Like my dad, he taught me like, find a good woman and dedicate your life to her. And he was in love with this woman, and I thought like, oh yeah, that's what I want. And then turns out his woman was like, kind of shoved him aside, and now he's like scrambling for it, like in his 60s. I'm like, oh God, that's not what I want at all. So I flipped it. I stopped being just nice to everybody. I stopped, oh, you're a woman? I'll hold the door open for you, metaphorically. Still hold the door for women, but I'm not just going out of my way to do it. I'm not going out of my way to just like do these things. I still do nice things for my girlfriend, but I'm not just, like, what does she want? What does she need? I need to give it to her.
You're not sacrificing yourself to make her happy.
So guys should not be doing that, because if a girl sees a guy who's like, he's on a path, I want to cling to him, you'll have to be brushing him off. You'll have like that. I'm serious. Like it was a night and day for me.
I didn't mean to cut you off, Kel, because I know you wanted to delve into that boats versus island thing.
I'm thinking a lot right now.
So explain that. What is your understanding of men are islands, women are boats?
The way that I'm thinking about it right now is what you said: men are islands, women are boats. Islands stay put, but the boats come to the island. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I get it.
Is that a misogynistic way of thinking?
Well, think of this. Misogyny again has that negative connotation to it, but in reality, like women want classically misogynist men.
What is misogyny?
It's just male dominated. It's you're
So
a
you give
man.
massages?
Yeah,
I had a guy massage me.
You give
that's
massages?
masseuse, guys.
All right, let's get the real definition. Misogyny.
Because that's, I think, what's being attacked, right? The Kevin Samuels, you're seeing like this group of where they're saying misogynistic men. Even like an article they said, Kevin Samuels, misogynist, passes away at, so toxic masculinity is being attacked, right? Misogyny. So when what used to be called like masculinity, male confidence, things like that, now is misogyny, toxic masculinity. So what is the definition of misogyny?
Okay, I had a definition of misogamy. That's a person that hates marriage. By the way, I don't know if you guys knew that word.
I did not know that.
I have the definition of misogynistic here. And it says a person who dislikes, despises, or is strongly prejudiced against women.
So it is a negative connotation because
But
it
that's
is negative.
again, they changed the definitions to kind of suit the.
Where's that defined
Okay,
from? Is
who
that like
changed
Webster's?
It was
Dictionary.
Is that Oxford?
Oxford. Let's see. It's from. I just typed it on Google. It's the first thing that popped up. But then now I have misogyny. Okay. Dislike of, contempt for, or ingrained prejudice against women. The example sentence is: she felt she was struggling against thinly disguised misogyny.
Okay, so it is a negative word.
Right. So that is negative then.
Permanent.
In a sense,
No.
It is.
So when
Oxford said it.
people say when people say you're misogynistic, they're using that to negative, like
dox
to like say you're
So,
being
I see
negative.
what you mean. So, like, they're
but
calling something-
masculinity, right? So what maybe I see, like Kevin Samuels, I saw was more of a masculine person, but they're looking at it like by being masculine, you are being misogynistic.
yeah, okay.
So, but I think that there's a difference between those two things. So once again, by uplifting men, you don't have to put down women, right? But what some people are seeing is by saying men are like this, men should be like this, men should be treated like this. Their connotation is, well, now you're saying women are a certain way and you're being misogynistic. And I think there needs to be a space where men can be men, kind of like why we created this podcast in the first place, right? Where there's a safe place where you can talk about what men need to be and what men should be. And a lot of what we talk about also is men have to hold themselves accountable, right? It's not like when we talk about, like in the housewife episode, I made it a point that the reason why women are changing is because men have changed. There's not the provider man isn't the same as our parents' generation. which is why women have changed.
Well, let me ask you about that, because it's something I've been thinking about all week. The being a provider.
Mm-hmm.
I can go into a whole spin about this, but I want to ask about one specific part of it, and that's appreciation.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the previous generation fell into gender roles where they were like, man provides, woman does, housewife and motherly duties. Maybe not the previous generation, but the one before that. And I feel like it's clear men die before women, right? Like they stress over life, they work themselves to death, and then I kind of feel like there's no appreciation for what a man does. Because if you think about it, what you hear a lot in the divorce is he worked so much that I never saw him and we fell out of love. Or my dad wasn't around because he was always working. So, that's why me and my mom have a connection, but I don't really talk to my dad. And it's just like things like that I'm just like, where's the appreciation for what men do? And in the future, is that, or in the present really, is that one of the reasons why men are kind of like, they have a dislike for marriage?
I don't know, because I also think that could be used as a scapegoat for men not wanting to handle their responsibilities.
But what if they just don't accept the responsibilities? Versus
no. What I'm saying, when you're saying appreciation,
yeah,
when you're saying the husband that just worked all the time and wasn't there to support their kids or to build a relationship, all that kind of stuff,
right.
And they should be appreciated for just being able to give you a lifestyle or bring in money. That's what I'm saying.
You don't think that deserves it?
No. I think that's only one aspect of what a man should do. A man should never let their children feel like they don't have a father.
Right, but now we're talking about, but what if they don't make enough money to always be there?
Sure, but that's part of the accountability a man has to show. That's not the child's fault. That's your fault as a man.
Shouldn't have had the kid.
You shouldn't have had the kid. You should have made better decisions in your life to make sure. And what I'm saying is women are adapting to the fact that we are making it okay for men to have kids that aren't able to be the father the right way. They're not providing in a way that they should, not only financially, but emotionally, giving stability. Like we can't expect women to treat men a certain way if us as men aren't going to do the things that we need to do to give women what they need to be the type of women that we want them to be. So that's what I'm saying is like, that's where it's eroding. So when we're talking about, maybe there's not always the right leader or maybe the right mouthpiece or the person that's being elevated to represent what men are or what men should be. So that's
have it. It's Sierra's husband.
Yeah, Russ. Could be.
Well, here's what I mean to say, because you said no to the appreciation part.
Yeah.
And it just makes me think about this, right? Like, okay, you said your mom never worked, right? But
Correct.
she was a housewife and a mom.
Correct.
And chances are on Mother's Day, you don't miss that,
No.
right?
Or Father's Day.
Okay, so you appreciate Father's Day.
But my dad isn't just somebody who paid for things to me.
Right.
And that's what I'm saying is he's a real man.
But okay, but I mean culturally, because you're like me from a different culture.
Yeah.
We're different culture inside of the larger American society. But on average in America, fathers are not that important. They're important for the do this, and do this. You have to be accountable for the decisions you made.
I disagree.
Tell me more.
What I'm saying is I think a certain father is like that. So I love my mother. Mm-hmm. Like I have a lot of love for my mom. The respect level I have for my dad is different. Respect. So when you say appreciation, the way I look at my dad and what he was able to do for me, my mom, my sister, the lifestyle he created and just everything he managed and balanced, like
Powerful.
He's on a pedestal, can never do any wrong. Even
yes,
if he
but
does
I'm saying
wrong.
outside of your situation.
But what I'm saying is I think that men have, like sons or children, will have that respect and that appreciation for a man that actually does all the things that I've seen my dad do.
I can't wait to tell my dad all this. When
I
he
was
gets
about
back
to say,
from
I was
getting lotto tickets.
I was gonna turn around and see who here respects their fathers.
He'll be back soon.
Yeah, but if he was the type of person that you would expect a father to be, you probably have respect for him. The fact that he wasn't that way is why you have the view of him as he is. So he wasn't. He's a father by because he had a son, but he didn't do the things he needed to do to be there for in a way that should have done. That's what I'm saying. I think what men are valuing, or what is defined as a man's man or a masculine man, is being gaslit by men that aren't people that I would look at and say that's a real man.
I think about my dad, and I think my mom is like the one. You know, she's the provider, realistically. And my dad was around. You know, he wasn't not around. He was there, and he's not a bum or anything like that. But I never latched on to the way that you think about it. And sometimes I feel bad about it because the things I wish my dad did are maybe not that important. You know, I wish he had a better career or made wiser decisions. Even though he didn't make bad decisions, and I can understand them, but I just wish some of those, I just wish you sacrificed how you felt for the greater good.
Right.
And though he was there, you know, there's a bit by Chris Rock where he's like, you just have to be there for your child. You know, if you want to avoid them being a stripper or something, just be there. And I've always fought against that because I just don't think presence is enough.
Yeah, I agree. Tools.
And also providing is not enough.
Correct.
I think a man has to have a moment in their life where they provide, like the bare necessities, right? You have a place to sleep, you have food to eat, you have clothes on your back, you go to school, blah, blah, blah. But then you have to make decisions in your life where in the future, the family has to be able to live and sustain on what you've done in the past so that your presence and your provider instinct are both there.
Yeah, you have to be able to give tools. You have to be able to guide. You have to be able to create a safe place. You have to be able to protect. You can't do all of those things if you haven't put in the work yourself to, how good of a role model can you be if you don't have the presence of mind to know right from wrong or teach? You know what I mean? So those are all aspects that are important. The father was the first, teacher of how to teach man to be a man, right? How to approach a woman, how to treat a woman, how to provide. Back in the day, there wasn't school and all that kind of stuff. What your dad did is what you did. So he taught you how to be. If you were a blacksmith, if he was a blacksmith, he taught you how to be a blacksmith. You know, if he was a farmer, you're a farmer. You know what I mean? And now as society is gotten better and better, now it's okay, I lay a foundation. You need to be better than me. But I need to have done all of this to be able to give you a chance to be even better. And that's what I look for.
Last question for you. Do you think that fathers in American society are revered and are respected as much as mothers are?
No.
I just think there's less fathers.
But for the ones that are there, I'm talking about a real good dad. Do you think that they get the shine they deserve? That was what I was trying to say.
No.
Got you. I think they would by their children.
No, I disagree.
I don't think by society.
I don't, because society dictates a lot of what happens in your internal self. So
yeah, but it only depends on how much you allow that.
No, but that goes into the conversation of nature versus nurture.
Sure.
Well, here's the thing: we're not the squeaky wheel. Men are not the squeaky wheel in society. We don't get the grease. We do the work, but then when it comes down to Titanic, we stay on the boat.
But what do you define as revered?
I just feel like in American society, people think that dads are not important.
I think that's what they're trying to create.
They're trying to create the sense that dads are not important?
Yeah.
I think they already did.
I don't think they have.
Yeah,
I think that there's a big movement that's trying to because so many men, and I think this happens more, and I'm an outsider looking in, so I don't know how this is going to come off. This is big in the black culture.
Cut the camera.
Sorry, Kelby. Oh my God.
No, but I see that more in that community where it's like, co-sign me on this, bro. Don't make this a joke because we're trying to be serious.
Okay,
all right?
go ahead.
So, but it is like, but I think it's, what's it called? I think it is a repercussion of men not taking accountability of their what they need to be doing.
You got to add something to that. Like men not taking accountability, but no one taking accountability of the men not taking accountability. Because if you just dump your kids now, it's like,
right.
What are they going to do? But
so to me, if that's the mentality of a man, I don't look at that guy as a man.
Okay. What I'm going to say is I don't think it's a black thing or in the black community. I think it is an economic thing.
Yes, I agree with that.
And I think that when you are born in a certain place and you're raised a certain way, either by if you have a single mom or dad is not around or available and the streets raise you or whatever, I think that it's very hard to change your mind once things have settled in your brain. And the reason why I may feel like it's a part of the black community, but it's mainly because a lot of the black community lives in these lower socioeconomic places. So I ultimately think that there are plenty of white people or Latino people who live in this environment where certain decisions have been made and it's passed down generation to generation. And I don't know if you ever met a hard-headed person, somebody who's ingrained in whatever they believe.
Right.
You can never change their mind.
Yeah.
And there's no information you could give them that's going to make them say, oh, I see it different now. I'm going to. And that's once you have a child who's in a certain environment for 15 years, 18 years, the way of lifestyle is that forever. Even if you look at people like Whack 100, who is a grown man, right? And I'm not saying anything bad about him, but like his mentality is still kind of like
Old school,
Pyru, gangster, things that you would normally see like a young man would be involved in, but he's not that, and he still portrays this lifestyle that you would imagine a man would probably kind of like not be a part of.
Mature out of.
Right. And so I think about those things where it's like, if you are set in stone by the time you're 18, you're going to do whatever your dad did.
Right.
Because, hey, that's what happened.
For sure.
And very small group of people can get out of that.
And I think you did a real good job correcting me because it isn't a race thing. It's definitely an economic thing.
Yeah.
So, I apologize, but for sure, it is an economic thing.
Finally, it's not me doing it.
But yeah, but
I know you were thinking.
Well, what I meant was just like it's more prevalent. You see that as a narrative, right?
Yeah.
That that's there, but it is based off of that more than culture because there's a ton of any culture. There's going to be examples of great fathers. There's going to be examples of poor fathers. It doesn't, and so it's not a cultural thing by any stretch of imagination. But yeah, I think that's where it stems from. And to bring it all back full circle, like I think Kevin Samuels was bringing out this notion of what a man should be, and it just got hijacked for entertainment purposes. That it ended up being more about women. But the basis of what I think his initial message is, men have to be accountable to men. And once you become a better man, then you could be, better for women.
And I also think that maybe his message was for all people. Recognize yourself in order for you to recognize what you want, your surroundings, and what you desire.
Yeah. Rest in power to Kevin Samuels.
We'll catch you on the next episode.